Hey guys, Ken here from the Retro Toy Escapades channel Malaysia. I'm continuing my discussion videos on MOTU Revolution and we're down to the third episode. This one is titled More Things in Heaven, and Eternia sure is a mouthful. This is the longest title so far in the series, but this is the one episode where everything just hits the fan. Okay, everything kind of like happens in this episode, the best one probably to date, and we have Hordak and his full armada officially invading Eternia, right? It is glorious. And we also have, basically everybody revealing themselves as who they really are. King Gildor revealing himself to be an absolute asshole. And in fact, Skeletor in disguise. Okay, so everything comes out in this particular episode. Adam finds out that he's been fooled. Most of the masters also found out they've been tricked. Okay, all of Eternia, in fact, found out that, they've been just used by Gildor. But for most of them, it's too late because they've already been converted into mindless drones. And there are some really key sequences in this episode that completely just stand out. The opening sequence in Hordak's throne room is fantastic. Okay, we have Stonea there being held prisoner. He's brought in by the guards. He's there to actually confront Hordak for invading his world. And actually, you know what? I didn't even recognize Stonea here. Don't expect anything from his classic 80s action figure design. He's like completely redesigned. He looks like a gladiator here with a helmet. And it was only due to the subtitles that Netflix provided. Okay, the subtitles, they always show you the name of the character before the character speaks. So, they listed him as Stonea. That's when I realized that, oh shit, it's him. And here's a pretty good sequence here. He's confronting Hordak and he breaks free of the guards. He transforms into this full-on oversized rock monster, and it's a real rock monster. Nothing at all like his classic 80s toy design where he transformed into this rolling boulder. Nothing like that at all. Here he's like this massive rock gladiator. He takes down the guards. He's advancing towards Hordak, but he doesn't get anywhere close to him, okay? Because Hordak just tells him very calmly that all of the champions that have tried to rise up against him realize all too late that unfortunately Hordak never does his own fighting. Okay, so then we get this scene here where the Horde appear. All right, we get 3 of these Horde monsters. We get Gildor coming down, laying the smackdown on Stonea. Then we've got Montana coming out of the shadows, just blasting him with a laser blaster and also the laser beams from his eyes. And finally, Leech turns up. Leech just looks freaking horrifying. All right, Leech just uses his leech parasite parts to just suck the life out of Stonea. Okay, he's like turned into rock ashes before our eyes. And I guess Stonea is dead, right? This is another major character death that we're seeing here in Revolution. It's pretty horrifying, but that's what happened. Okay, this is the introduction, the proper introduction of Hordak and the Horde guys. Okay, and they've just done something just freaking cruel and wicked here. And we just get more scenes of Hordak and Motherboard completely just disrespecting Skeletor or Skeletor. All right, completely just disregarding him, treating him like shit, kicking him around, right, like a rag doll even. And, obviously we get the feeling that at some point, all right, Skeletor is going to rise up against them because that normally happens, okay, in He-Man stories, all right. Skeletor is probably going to work together with He-Man to take down Hordak. But he also, at one point, gets flashbacks of Gildor, because all this time he just thought that he was assuming the Gildor personality just as a ruse. Okay, it was just a fabricated story, but then later he finds out that actually it was in fact based on actual events. Okay, he gets flashbacks of his younger days as Gildor when in fact Hordak had invaded his home planet, enslaved everybody, enslaved him, turned him into this walking skeleton. All right, that's right. Okay, Hordak's the one responsible for all of this, and all of this has been hidden from him somehow. All right, so he's just discovering all this stuff. What he's going to do with this information, I guess we're going to find out later on. And it was pretty cool to see Gildor turn up in animation for the very first time. I don't really care much for the character, but I do care about the fact that he's one of the guys from the 1987 live-action He-Man universe. Okay, so we have Duncan and Orko seeking him out, okay, for his help. They want him to sort of like fine-tune the power sword in some way so that it can set off a frequency that could reverse the effects of the nanovirus. And we do get some interesting banter here, some back and forth smack talking between Gildor and Orko. They just don't seem to get along at all the minute they meet each other. But of course, we know that they're going to end up just working together. They're going to end up fighting the forces of evil together because these two guys are already packaged in a two-pack, okay, for Masterverse, right? The two-pack came out first before we got to see this cartoon. And we do get some bonding there between Lin, or Evil Lin, and Snake Tila, okay? Lin is overseeing her training. I like those sequences. There's a lot of interesting character dialogue there, and we do get to see more of their character personalities being fleshed out. I thought that was pretty good. One thing though, okay, once again, we get Andra. Andra, who's being built up as this person who can just basically sort of like do anything, all right? At one point, He-Man's charging off the Snake Mountain, and Andra just hands him the battle armor tech, okay, for him to wear. And that, in fact, makes up his battle armor look. And I was just thinking to myself, okay, so this whole time, what, Andra created it? Like, just like that, okay? She created the battle armor tech for He-Man, right? And what else can she do? And later, in fact, there's also a scene where Gildor tricks her, right, into reverse engineering the tech that was used to transmit the virus onto the people of Eternia in the second episode during the war that was happening there in the city. And he tricks her into finding out a way to use the same technology, but instead to augment the people of Eternia to make them even stronger and to be able to resist the effects of the virus. And she works out this whole thing in, like, I don't know, a couple of hours, okay? Because this whole episode is just about 24 minutes, all right, give or take. And, Gildor's talking to her. The next thing you know, she already has the whole thing worked out and she's already able to implement it on the entire population, okay? In fact, she's already doing live tests on them. And I was just looking at this whole thing and I was like, get the hell out of here, okay? Because there's just no way that something like this can actually happen in real life, okay? It's like taking forever for Gildor, all right, to probably want to fine-tune the power sword, okay, to achieve what needs to be done, okay? But Andra just seems to be able to do something similar along the same lines in just a couple of minutes, all right? I guess if the script says that you can pretty much do anything, then I guess that's what you're able to do. Now, we do get lots of fan-pleasing moments here, especially with He-Man and Battlecat charging single-handedly into Snake Mountain, facing the entire army just on their own, okay? They don't even need anybody from the rest of the Masters of the Universe, okay? Besides which, okay, these guys are nowhere to be seen. You could have like a cast of 100 heroes and nobody's around for important battles like these. But those scenes are pretty great. We see He-Man taking on Whiplash, Webstar, but I have to say that the action sequences are moving at hyper speed. Okay, it's like they're moving the story along at full throttle and there's hardly a moment to pause. I would like to have some of these characters just linger on screen for a little while longer, you know what I mean? And there was a cool scene, okay, earlier on between Evelyn and Tila during their training sparring sessions, and Evelyn is just taunting Tila. And one of the things that she says is that you were nothing more than just a bait and switch. And I just cracked up. Okay, I can't help but feel that that line was just a nod to all the critics of the first season who claimed that Tila was exactly that. Okay, just a bait and switch. So, when Evelyn said it, I was like, oh shit, she said the line. Okay. Also, I can't help but feel that this is a complete sort of like fan service moment in a really cool way also, because the whole time we have the character of Gildor being kept as a mystery, all right, because he was like the big reveal in episode 1. And before that, when we had the teaser trailer and stuff like that, and then we also had the announcement that William Shatner was going to be joining the series, but they didn't reveal which character he would actually be voicing. So it turns out that Shatner is actually Gildor, right? He's voicing Gildor, and you have Luke Skywalker, all right? It's Mark Hamill basically voicing Skeletor, and then now you have Shatner, all right? Captain Kirk himself, who's voicing Gildor. So basically, you kind of have Captain Kirk and Luke Skywalker in pretty much the same person, all right? Because Gildor is Skeletor. I can't help but feel, okay, that somewhere out there, the creators are just winking at this thing, all right? I mean, you got to admit, okay, where else would you find a combination like this, okay? Only in animation. But it's the closest that we've gotten to an actual Star Trek and Star Wars crossover. All right, think about it. And the other thing also is that, when it comes to the voices, well, for Mark Hamill's Skeletor, you don't actually hear a lot of Mark Hamill in his voice. All right, you hear something like Skeletor. All right, but for Gildor, he's basically a new character to the series, and I have to say, okay, you do hear a lot of William Shatner in there. Okay, you do hear a lot of Captain Kirk, right, in there, except for the parts when Gildor turns evil. But yeah, I mean, you do actually hear a lot of William Shatner in his voice. Anyway, the whole episode ends on a total downbeat with Hordak completely overtaking Eternia, transforming Castle Grayskull into a horrific version of the evil Horde. Yeah, some really exciting times awaiting in episode 4, which I'm going to get into next. Meantime, drop a comments below on episode 3. Let me know what you guys thought of it. I'll catch you guys again real soon. Take care out there.